I stood in VP Brandon Caldwell's corner office, watching him lean back in his leather chair with a satisfied smirk plastered across his face. The words still echoed in my mind like a death sentence. "You're fired and we're keeping your laptop." Without protest, I handed over my government-issued laptop, watching his arrogant expression as he claimed it contained proprietary company secrets that belonged to Meridian Tech Solutions. But when he flipped it over and read the bright red sticker, "Property of US Gov, Classified," his face drained of all color. That single moment changed absolutely everything. 3 months earlier, I had walked through the glass doors of Meridian Tech Solutions in Arlington, Virginia, carrying nothing but hope and a desperate need for a fresh start. My name is Jocelyn, and at 28 I was transitioning from 8 years as an Air Force cybersecurity specialist to civilian contractor work. The divorce papers were still warm in my briefcase, along with my top-secret security clearance documentation and a determination to rebuild my shattered confidence. The hiring process had felt almost too smooth. Brandon Caldwell, the vice president of operations, had practically offered me the senior systems analyst position on the spot during our interview. His enthusiasm seemed genuine, as he described the role as routine IT consulting work, managing data systems for various government clients. What he failed to mention was the true nature of those clients or the sensitivity of the information I would be handling. My first day introduced me to a motley crew of colleagues who would become central to the unfolding drama. Derek Walsh, my immediate supervisor, was a nervous man in his 40s with thinning brown hair and a perpetual look of worry etched into his features. He stammered through our initial meeting, constantly glancing toward Brandon's office, as if expecting surveillance. His handshake was clammy, and he avoided direct eye contact while explaining my responsibilities in vague, hesitant terms. Amanda Pierce, a blonde woman in her early 30s with sharp blue eyes and an easy smile, became my closest ally from day one. She worked in the adjacent cubicle and possessed an encyclopedic knowledge of the company's systems. Her warm personality masked an analytical mind that seemed to catalog every detail of our workplace interactions. During our first coffee break, she casually mentioned that several talented female employees had left the company under mysterious circumstances over the past year. Travis Morton rounded out our small team as the competitive coworker who viewed every new hire as a potential threat to his advancement. Tall and lanky with perfectly styled black hair, he made sure to mention his MBA credentials and previous experience at 3 different tech firms during our initial conversation. His ambition radiated from every carefully chosen word, and he had an unsettling habit of appearing whenever I was discussing work matters with other colleagues. The red flags began appearing almost immediately. Brandon displayed a dismissive attitude toward my military background, making subtle comments about how civilian work required different skills than following orders in the military. During team meetings, he would interrupt my technical explanations or redirect questions I raised about security protocols. His casual sexism emerged in small doses, commenting on my appearance before addressing my professional contributions, or suggesting that I might find certain technical aspects challenging, despite my extensive cybersecurity experience. As days turned into weeks, I realized my routine IT consulting job was anything but routine. The data systems I was managing contained classified Defense Department information contracts, personnel records, and technical specifications that required the highest levels of security clearance. The casual handling of these sensitive materials by company management made my stomach churn with anxiety. My first direct confrontation with Brandon occurred during my 3rd week. I discovered classified files stored on unsecured company servers, accessible to anyone with basic network permissions. When I brought this security violation to his attention, his reaction was swift and hostile. He accused me of overstepping my authority and suggested that my military background was making me paranoid about standard business practices. "This isn't the Air Force, Jocelyn," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "We operate differently in the private sector. Perhaps you need to adjust your expectations." Amanda's warning came the following week during a tense lunch conversation in the company cafeteria. She leaned across the table, her voice barely above a whisper, as she explained how previous female employees who had questioned Brandon's methods had suddenly found themselves terminated for fabricated performance issues. Sarah Williams had been fired for alleged security breaches that were later proven false. Jessica Martinez had been accused of insubordination after raising concerns about data handling protocols. "The pattern is always the same," Amanda confided, stirring her salad absently. "They start building a case against you the moment you become a problem. Document everything and watch your back." My personal life provided no refuge from the mounting workplace stress. The divorce had left me financially vulnerable and emotionally fragile. I needed this job desperately, not just for the substantial salary, but for the opportunity to rebuild my professional reputation in the civilian world. The thought of starting over again, explaining another failed employment situation to potential employers, filled me with dread. Brandon's hostility and micromanagement escalated with each passing day. He began requiring detailed reports of my daily activities, questioning my methodology on routine tasks, and scheduling frequent check-in meetings that felt more like interrogations than professional consultations. His scrutiny extended beyond my work performance to personal details. He somehow knew about my recent divorce and made pointed comments about my ability to handle stress and maintain focus. Derek's behavior became increasingly suspicious as well. During what I thought was a private conversation about security concerns, he nervously admitted that Brandon had instructed him to monitor and document my activities. The revelation that my own supervisor was essentially spying on me added another layer of betrayal to an already toxic situation. The breaking point came when I discovered classified defense algorithms stored in Derek's personal email account. These weren't just sensitive files, they were cutting-edge cybersecurity protocols developed by the Department of Defense for protecting critical infrastructure. The implications of their presence on unsecured personal systems were staggering. That evening, I sat in my small apartment staring at printed copies of the evidence I had gathered. The weight of what I had discovered pressed down on me like a physical force. Brandon wasn't just mishandling classified materials through negligence. He was doing it deliberately, systematically, and with complete disregard for national security implications. My attempts to address the security violations through proper channels hit brick walls at every turn. When I requested meetings with senior management above Brandon, I was told he was the designated point of contact for all security-related issues. When I suggested involving the Pentagon's Oversight Division, Derek panicked and begged me to reconsider, citing potential contract cancellations that would cost everyone their jobs. The pressure was getting to Derek in visible ways. His nervous tics intensified. He would tap his pen incessantly during meetings, constantly adjust his glasses, and stumble over simple explanations. During a private conversation in the supply closet, he revealed the extent of Brandon's monitoring system. Every email, every file access, every phone call was being tracked and analyzed for signs of disloyalty or potential whistleblowing. "He knows everything we do," Derek whispered, his hands shaking as he sorted through office supplies. "He's got people watching people. I can't afford to lose this job, Jocelyn. My wife is pregnant with our second child and we just bought a house." Amanda's demeanor shifted dramatically after she was summoned to Brandon's office for a closed-door meeting that lasted over an hour. When she returned, her usual warmth had been replaced by distant professionalism. Our coffee breaks stopped. Our casual conversations about work concerns ceased. When I tried to approach her about the changes, she would redirect the conversation or find excuses to leave. My investigation into the security breaches led me down a rabbit hole of encrypted files and hidden directories. Using my military cybersecurity training, I managed to access portions of the company's network that revealed a sophisticated system for copying and storing classified information. The files weren't just being mishandled, they were being systematically harvested and organized in ways that suggested deliberate intelligence gathering. The encrypted files contained more than just Defense Department data. I found correspondence with representatives from foreign technology companies, particularly a firm called Advanced Quantum Systems, that appeared to be based in Singapore, but had obvious connections to Chinese state-sponsored research initiatives. The email exchanges discussed technical consultations and research collaborations that involved sharing sensitive cybersecurity protocols. Brandon's behavior toward me became increasingly hostile and personal. During a team meeting, he questioned my competence in front of colleagues, suggesting that my military experience hadn't prepared me for the complexities of civilian contractor work. He made pointed comments about my recent divorce, implying that personal stress was affecting my judgment and performance. "Maybe you're not ready for this level of responsibility," he said during one particularly humiliating encounter. "Transitioning from military structure to independent thinking can be challenging for some people." Travis Morton's role in the growing conspiracy became clear when he approached me with what seemed like friendly advice. He suggested that I was making enemies by asking too many questions and pushing too hard on security issues that weren't really my responsibility. His concern felt genuine until he casually mentioned specific details about my private conversations with Derek, details that could only have come from surveillance or deliberate eavesdropping. "You need to understand the company culture here," Travis explained while we waited for the elevator. "Brandon values team players who can adapt to his leadership style. Fighting him on every security protocol is just going to make your life difficult." The Pentagon security audit that had been scheduled for the following month suddenly became a source of panic for Brandon's inner circle. During an emergency meeting, I watched him pace frantically while outlining new procedures for data handling and access controls. The irony wasn't lost on me. He was scrambling to implement the very security measures I had been recommending for weeks. My growing isolation at work coincided with disturbing discoveries about the scope of Brandon's operations. Financial records hidden in encrypted folders revealed payments to a consulting company registered under Brandon's wife's maiden name. The amounts were substantial, tens of thousands of dollars, for unspecified technical services provided to Advanced Quantum Systems and two other foreign firms. Derek's guilt over his role in the surveillance finally overwhelmed his fear during a late-night conversation in the office parking garage. Under the pale glow of streetlights, he confessed that Brandon had been building a termination case against me since my second week of employment. False performance evaluations had been created and backdated to establish a pattern of inadequate work quality and insubordinate behavior. "He's going to fire you before the audit," Derek stammered, his breath visible in the cold night air, "and he's going to blame all the security violations on your supposed negligence. I'm supposed to testify that you had access to all the compromised files." The realization hit me like a physical blow. Brandon hadn't hired me to do a job, he had hired me to be a scapegoat. My military background and security clearance made me the perfect target to absorb blame for his criminal activities. Every security breach, every violation, every instance of mishandled classified information would be attributed to my supposed incompetence or malicious intent. My contacts in the military intelligence community had been trying to reach me through unofficial channels, but I had dismissed their cryptic messages as routine security check-ins. Now I understood they were warnings. My former commanding officer, Colonel Martinez, had somehow learned about the situation at Meridian Tech and was attempting to alert me to the danger without compromising ongoing investigations. The discovery of offshore banking records in Brandon's encrypted files revealed the true scale of his betrayal. He had been selling classified defense algorithms to foreign entities for over 18 months, generating millions of dollars in illegal profits while systematically undermining American cybersecurity capabilities. The algorithms he was selling weren't just theoretical research. They were active protocols used to protect critical military and civilian infrastructure. As the Pentagon audit date approached, Brandon's desperation became palpable. He began working late into the night, frantically deleting files and restructuring access permissions. During one of these late-night sessions, I managed to observe him transferring large data files to external storage devices while simultaneously creating false logs that would implicate me in unauthorized data access. The trap was closing around me with terrifying precision. Brandon had spent months building an airtight case that would destroy my career, revoke my security clearance, and potentially result in federal charges for espionage. The evidence he was fabricating painted me as a disgruntled veteran who had used her military connections and security access to steal classified information for personal gain. My darkest moment came when I received official notification that my security clearance was under review, pending investigation of potential security violations. The letter signed by officials I didn't recognize detailed allegations of unauthorized access to classified materials and suspicious communications with foreign entities. Every accusation was carefully crafted to align with Brandon's fabricated evidence trail. Sitting in my car in the company parking lot, reading the letter that could end my career and potentially my freedom, I realized how completely I had been outmaneuvered. Brandon hadn't just stolen classified information, he had orchestrated an elaborate frame job that would leave me holding responsibility for his crimes while he continued profiting from national security breaches. Brandon's coordinated campaign to destroy my reputation moved into high gear during my 4th week at Meridian Tech. The fabricated performance reviews began appearing in my personnel file, each one carefully crafted to build a case for incompetence and security negligence. According to these fictional documents, I had supposedly missed crucial deadlines, failed to follow proper protocols, and demonstrated a pattern of careless handling of sensitive materials. Derek was forced into the role of unwilling accomplice, required to sign statements attesting to my alleged poor performance and questionable judgment. During a private conversation in the break room, he broke down completely, explaining how Brandon had threatened his job and his family's financial security to secure his cooperation. "I have a mortgage, 2 kids, and another baby coming," he sobbed quietly, his hands trembling as he held his coffee cup. "He knows I can't afford to lose this job. He knows exactly how to manipulate all of us." The systematic removal of my system access began subtly, but accelerated rapidly. First, my permissions to certain classified directories were revoked under the pretense of routine security updates. Then my email access was restricted, preventing me from communicating directly with Pentagon contacts who might have questioned the sudden changes. Finally, my login credentials for critical systems were suspended entirely effectively, cutting me off from the work I was hired to perform. Brandon's personal vendetta extended beyond professional sabotage into cruel psychological warfare. During a human resources meeting that I was told was routine, he presented detailed information about my recent divorce, suggesting that emotional instability was affecting my work performance and potentially compromising my judgment regarding classified materials. He had somehow obtained private financial information showing my precarious economic situation, using it to paint a picture of someone desperate enough to sell secrets for money. The most devastating betrayal came from Travis, who revealed the full scope of Brandon's scheme during what I thought was a supportive conversation. Apparently, Brandon had been planning this elaborate frame job for months, carefully selecting a recent military veteran with financial vulnerabilities and emotional instability as the perfect patsy for his espionage activities. "He researched you extensively before hiring you," Travis confided, his usual competitive demeanor replaced by genuine concern. "Your divorce, your financial situation, your military background, everything made you ideal for what he needed. Someone with security clearance who could be blamed for his activities." The timeline of Brandon's criminal enterprise became clearer through fragments of evidence I managed to gather before my access was completely revoked. He had been selling classified defense algorithms to Chinese-backed technology firms for almost 2 years, generating substantial profits, while systematically weakening American cybersecurity capabilities. My hiring had been the final piece of his plan, a credible scapegoat who could absorb all legal responsibility when his activities were inevitably discovered. My attempts to contact military intelligence contacts were blocked by sophisticated email filtering systems that Brandon had implemented. Every outgoing message containing certain keywords was automatically flagged and redirected to his personal review before being permanently deleted. My phone calls to former colleagues were monitored through company systems, and any mention of security concerns resulted in immediate disconnection. The Pentagon audit that had been scheduled for the following month was suddenly moved up to the following week, creating panic throughout the company. Brandon's response was swift and brutal. He needed to complete his frame job and eliminate me as a potential witness before federal investigators arrived. The accelerated timeline meant that his careful, methodical approach to destroying me would have to become more aggressive and obvious. Derek's coerced testimony represented the final nail in my professional coffin. Under intense pressure from Brandon, he signed a detailed statement describing my alleged security violations, unauthorized access to classified systems, and suspicious behavior regarding sensitive materials. The statement was a masterpiece of carefully crafted lies, each accusation supported by fabricated evidence that Brandon had been creating for weeks. "I'm sorry," Derek whispered to me after signing the papers. "I'm so sorry, but I have no choice. He'll destroy my family if I don't cooperate." The ultimate betrayal came when I discovered that my own work had been systematically altered to introduce security vulnerabilities that would support Brandon's accusations. Code I had written to strengthen system protections had been modified to create backdoors and access points that appeared to be deliberate sabotage. Every security protocol I had implemented had been corrupted to look like attempts to compromise rather than protect classified information. Amanda's complete transformation from ally to enemy was perhaps the most personally painful aspect of the entire ordeal. After weeks of distant professionalism, she finally approached me with what appeared to be devastating news. She had been instructed to testify that I had attempted to recruit her into espionage activities, offering to share classified information in exchange for financial compensation. "He has recordings," she said quietly, her eyes filled with what looked like genuine regret. "Conversations where he claims you offered to sell defense secrets. I know they're fabricated, but the audio quality is convincing enough to fool investigators." My security clearance investigation had been expedited through channels I didn't understand, with results that would arrive just days before the Pentagon audit. Brandon had somehow manipulated the process to ensure that my clearance would be revoked exactly when federal investigators began examining Meridian Tech's security practices. The timing would make me appear guilty of the very crimes he had committed. The psychological pressure of facing potential federal charges for espionage, career destruction, and financial ruin pushed me to my absolute breaking point. Everything I had worked for during 8 years of military service, everything I had hoped to rebuild after my divorce was being systematically destroyed by a man who viewed me as nothing more than a convenient scapegoat for his criminal enterprise. Late one evening, as I sat in my apartment surrounded by evidence I couldn't present to anyone who would believe me, I received a phone call that changed everything. Amanda's voice was different, urgent, conspiratorial, and filled with an intensity I had never heard before. "Meet me in the parking garage tonight," she said. "Level 3 northwest corner. Come alone and don't tell anyone." As I walked through the dimly lit parking garage, my footsteps echoing off concrete walls, I prepared myself for another betrayal, or perhaps even physical danger. Brandon's desperation had reached levels that made anything possible. But when Amanda emerged from the shadows between two parked cars, her expression held something I hadn't seen in weeks: hope. "Jocelyn," she said, her voice steady and professional, in a way I had never heard before. "My name isn't really Amanda Pierce. I'm Special Agent Amanda Rodriguez, FBI Cybercrime Division, and we've been investigating Brandon Caldwell for 8 months." The revelation that Amanda was an undercover federal agent transformed my understanding of everything that had happened over the past months. As we stood in the shadowy parking garage, she explained that my hiring at Meridian Tech hadn't been the coincidence I thought. My military background and security clearance had made me the perfect unwitting target for Brandon's elaborate frame job, but it had also made me the perfect asset for the FBI's investigation. "We knew Brandon was planning to recruit a scapegoat," Amanda explained, her professional demeanor now completely replacing the friendly colleague persona she had maintained for months. "Your profile fit exactly what he was looking for: recent military veteran, financial vulnerabilities, high-level security clearance. We couldn't prevent your hiring without compromising our investigation, but we could monitor and eventually protect you." The FBI had been tracking Brandon's communications with foreign technology companies for over a year, building a comprehensive case that extended far beyond simple security violations. His operation involved selling classified defense algorithms to Chinese state-sponsored research firms, generating millions of dollars in illegal profits, while systematically undermining American cybersecurity capabilities across multiple agencies and departments. Amanda's transformation from seemingly warm colleague to seasoned federal agent was remarkable to witness. Her detailed knowledge of company systems wasn't the result of years of employment. It was the product of extensive surveillance and investigation. Every casual conversation we had shared, every concern I had raised about security protocols, had been carefully documented as evidence of my legitimate attempts to address the violations I was discovering. "Your security clearance investigation was actually protective surveillance." She continued, scanning the parking garage for potential eavesdroppers. "We needed to monitor all communications and activities related to you to ensure Brandon couldn't successfully frame you for his crimes. Every email, every file access, every conversation has been recorded and analyzed." The scope of Brandon's criminal enterprise was staggering. He hadn't just been selling random classified files, he was systematically targeting specific algorithms and protocols that would allow foreign entities to penetrate American cybersecurity defenses. The defense algorithms he had been stealing were used to protect everything from military communications to civilian infrastructure, including power grids, water treatment facilities, and transportation networks. My role in the FBI's investigation would be crucial but dangerous. Amanda needed me to continue working normally while wearing sophisticated recording devices that would capture Brandon's incriminating statements and activities. The accelerated timeline created by the Pentagon audit meant that Brandon would be forced to make increasingly desperate and potentially illegal moves that would provide the evidence needed for prosecution. "He's going to try to complete the frame job within the next few days," Amanda warned. "We need you to act naturally while documenting his attempts to manipulate evidence and coerce testimony from your colleagues. The recording equipment is virtually undetectable, but you'll need to be extremely careful not to reveal any knowledge of our investigation." The emotional toll of pretending everything was normal while gathering evidence against someone who was actively trying to destroy my life was almost unbearable. Every interaction with Brandon required careful balance between appearing vulnerable enough to encourage his continued criminal behavior while remaining strong enough to effectively document his activities. Derek's role as reluctant accomplice made him a valuable source of information, but also a liability for the investigation. His fear of losing his job and destroying his family's financial security made him unpredictable and potentially dangerous if he discovered the FBI's involvement. Amanda stressed that Derek's cooperation would be essential for a successful prosecution, but his current emotional state made approaching him extremely risky. Travis's unwitting cooperation had provided crucial evidence about Brandon's offshore financial accounts and his connections to foreign technology firms. His competitive nature and desire to ingratiate himself with management had led him to inadvertently document many of Brandon's suspicious activities while attempting to prove his own value to the company. "Travis doesn't know he's been helping us," Amanda explained. "His detailed reports about company activities and his attempts to gather information about everyone's work have provided us with invaluable documentation of Brandon's criminal operations." The technical aspects of how Brandon had been extracting and selling classified algorithms were sophisticated and carefully planned. He had developed a system using encrypted external storage devices and secure communication channels that allowed him to transfer massive amounts of classified data without triggering standard security monitoring systems. The algorithms he was selling weren't just theoretical research, they were active protocols currently in use by the Department of Defense. The international scope of Brandon's operation involved connections to industrial espionage networks spanning multiple countries. Advanced Quantum Systems, the Singapore-based firm that appeared to be his primary customer, was actually a front organization for Chinese state intelligence services. Similar front companies in Eastern Europe and the Middle East had been purchasing different categories of classified information from Brandon over an 18-month period. Brandon's increasing paranoia as the audit date approached created both opportunities and dangers for the investigation. His desperate attempts to eliminate evidence and silence potential witnesses made him more likely to make incriminating statements, but also more dangerous to anyone he perceived as a threat. Amanda emphasized that my safety was a primary concern and that federal agents were maintaining constant surveillance of both Brandon and me. The setup for the final confrontation required precise timing and coordination between multiple federal agencies. The Pentagon audit would provide cover for FBI agents to access Meridian Tech's facilities and systems, while Brandon's inevitable attempts to escape prosecution would be carefully monitored and documented. The goal was to catch him in the act of transferring classified information or attempting to destroy evidence. "He's planning something for tomorrow," Amanda said as our parking garage meeting concluded. "Our surveillance indicates he's arranged transportation out of the country and has been liquidating financial assets. We need to let him make his move while ensuring he can't actually escape or destroy crucial evidence." Derek's emotional breakdown the following morning provided the breakthrough the investigation needed. Unable to continue living with the guilt and pressure of participating in Brandon's scheme, he approached me during a brief moment when we were alone in the conference room and made a shocking confession. "I've been recording everything," he whispered. his hands shaking as he pulled a small digital device from his jacket pocket. Every conversation with Brandon, every instruction about falsifying your performance reviews, every threat about my job security. I've been doing it for over a year because I knew this day would come. Derek's secret recordings contained more than just evidence of the frame job being constructed against me. They documented Brandon's entire criminal operation, including detailed discussions of financial arrangements with foreign contacts, specific algorithms being sold, and plans for expanding the espionage network to other defense contractors. The recordings represented a complete confession of treason and espionage spanning over 2 years. I was afraid for my family, Derek continued, tears streaming down his face. But I couldn't keep participating in this. I couldn't let him destroy your life to cover up his crimes. I'm going to give these recordings to whoever can stop him. The moment Derek revealed his recordings, I knew that Brandon's carefully constructed scheme was about to collapse completely. The evidence contained on that small digital device would not only exonerate me, but would provide federal prosecutors with everything needed to secure convictions for treason, espionage, and conspiracy against not just Brandon, but his entire network of collaborators. The FBI's coordination of the final evidence-gathering operation required precision timing that would make the difference between a successful prosecution and a dangerous criminal escaping justice. Amanda briefed me on my crucial role during an early morning meeting, disguised as a routine coffee run, explaining how my actions over the next 48 hours would trigger Brandon's final desperate moves. My assignment involved creating a fake Pentagon security breach that would force Brandon to accelerate his timeline and make the incriminating moves necessary to complete the FBI's case. Using my legitimate military contacts, I would report a fabricated discovery of unauthorized access to classified defense systems, creating the appearance of an imminent security investigation that would threaten Brandon's entire operation. He'll panic when he thinks the Pentagon has discovered his activities, Amanda explained, stirring her coffee casually while maintaining constant surveillance of our surroundings. His only option will be to transfer the remaining classified data to his foreign contacts and attempt to flee the country before he can be arrested. Derek's transformation from fearful accomplice to active ally in the investigation was remarkable to witness. His decision to secretly record Brandon's criminal activities had taken enormous courage, given the threats against his family's security and his own career. Now armed with the knowledge that federal agents were protecting his family and that his recordings would be crucial evidence, he was prepared to take additional risks to ensure Brandon's arrest. The elaborate setup required Derek to inform Brandon about my supposed discovery of the Pentagon security breach, creating a sense of urgency that would force immediate action. The conversation would be carefully recorded, using the FBI's sophisticated surveillance equipment, capturing Brandon's response to what he would perceive as an existential threat to his criminal enterprise. Travis's reaction to learning the truth about what had been happening at Meridian Tech was a mixture of shock, horror, and relief. When Amanda finally revealed her true identity and the scope of the federal investigation, he immediately offered full cooperation in exchange for immunity from prosecution. His detailed knowledge of company operations and his documented interactions with Brandon provided additional evidence of the systematic nature of the criminal activities. "I thought I was just trying to advance my career," Travis confessed during his initial debriefing with FBI agents. "I had no idea that gathering information about my colleagues and reporting to Brandon was actually facilitating espionage. I just wanted to prove my value to the company." Brandon's behavior became increasingly erratic as pressure mounted from multiple directions. The fake Pentagon security breach report sent him into a frenzy of activity, desperately attempting to contact his foreign handlers, while simultaneously working to destroy evidence and eliminate potential witnesses. His communications, all of which were being monitored by federal agents, revealed the full scope of his panic and desperation. The day of reckoning arrived with coordinated federal raids being planned across multiple locations, including Brandon's home, his offshore business offices, and the facilities of Advanced Quantum Systems. The simultaneous operations were designed to prevent any warning from reaching Brandon's collaborators while maximizing the evidence gathered from his network of criminal associates. My careful documentation of Brandon's final attempts to transfer classified data provided crucial real-time evidence of active espionage in progress. The recording equipment Amanda had provided captured every detail of his frantic efforts to complete data transfers while destroying the evidence of his activities. His desperation made him careless, leading to clear admissions of guilt that would be devastating in court. Amanda's coordination with multiple federal agencies and international law enforcement demonstrated the global scope of the investigation into Brandon's criminal network. Agencies in Singapore, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East were simultaneously moving against the foreign technology firms that had been purchasing classified American defense algorithms. The coordinated international response ensured that the entire espionage network would be dismantled simultaneously. Brandon's discovery that his foreign contacts had been compromised came through monitored communications that revealed federal agents had been tracking his international partners for months. The realization that his entire operation had been under surveillance created a level of panic that led to increasingly irrational and incriminating behavior. His decision to eliminate evidence by destroying computer systems and attempting to flee the country represented the final desperate moves of a criminal who understood that his carefully constructed scheme was collapsing. The FBI's surveillance teams were prepared for exactly this scenario, with agents positioned to monitor and document every move he made while preventing any actual escape or destruction of evidence. The tense final hours before Brandon's planned departure created a dangerous situation where his desperation could lead to violence against anyone he perceived as a threat. Federal agents maintained constant protection for me, Derek, and Travis, while allowing Brandon enough freedom to complete the incriminating actions necessary for prosecution. My realization that I had become much stronger through this ordeal was both empowering and sobering. The experience of facing systematic destruction of my career and reputation while maintaining the integrity and courage necessary to help expose the truth had fundamentally changed my understanding of my own capabilities and resilience. The setup of Brandon's firing scene represented the culmination of his desperate attempts to silence me before federal investigators could complete their case. His plan to confiscate my laptop and claim it contained company property was actually an attempt to destroy evidence of his own criminal activities while simultaneously eliminating my access to files that could exonerate me. Brandon's fatal mistake was his assumption that keeping the classified laptop would provide him with insurance against prosecution or bargaining power with federal agents. His ignorance of the legal implications of possessing classified materials while attempting to flee the country transformed what he thought was a clever escape plan into an additional federal crime that would guarantee his conviction. The airport scene that Amanda had described during our briefing was carefully choreographed to appear natural, while ensuring Brandon's arrest would include possession of classified materials along with the extensive evidence of espionage and treason. Federal agents had been monitoring his travel preparations and were prepared to intercept him at multiple points along his planned escape route. "He's walking directly into a federal sting operation," Amanda had explained. "Every step of his escape plan is being monitored and controlled. When he's arrested with that laptop containing classified defense algorithms, it will provide irrefutable evidence of his espionage activities." The aftermath of Brandon's arrest at Dulles International Airport with classified materials in his possession sent shockwaves through both the defense contracting industry and international intelligence communities. Federal agents had intercepted him just minutes before his scheduled departure on a flight to Singapore, where he planned to meet with representatives of advanced quantum systems and finalize the transfer of the remaining stolen algorithms. The revelation that Brandon's laptop contained evidence linking him to a multinational espionage ring exceeded even the FBI's expectations for the scope of his criminal activities. The encrypted files revealed not just his individual crimes, but detailed documentation of an entire network of defense contractors, foreign agents, and government officials who had been systematically stealing and selling classified American technology for over 3 years. My complete vindication came through a formal announcement from the Department of Defense acknowledging my role in exposing one of the most significant espionage cases in recent history. All fabricated charges against me were not only dropped, but were publicly recognized as part of an elaborate frame job designed to conceal Brandon's criminal activities. The announcement praised my integrity and courage in maintaining ethical standards despite intense pressure and personal attacks. Derek's promotion to Chief Security Officer at Meridian Tech, along with substantial recognition for his courage in providing crucial evidence, marked a dramatic transformation from the frightened, coerced accomplice he had been forced to become. His secret recordings had provided federal prosecutors with virtually everything needed to secure convictions, and his willingness to testify against Brandon demonstrated remarkable personal growth and moral courage. "I never thought I could be brave," Derek told me during the company celebration of our vindication. "But when I saw what he was doing to you, what he was doing to our country, I knew I had to act. My children deserve to grow up in a world where people stand up for what's right." Amanda's revelation of her true identity as FBI Special Agent Amanda Rodriguez to the entire company created a mixture of shock, admiration, and relief among our colleagues. Her 18-month undercover assignment had required extraordinary skill and dedication, maintaining her cover while gathering evidence that would ultimately protect national security and expose a dangerous criminal network. The scope of what our investigation had prevented became clear through classified briefings provided to those of us directly involved in Brandon's exposure. The defense algorithms he had been selling contained critical cybersecurity protocols used to protect everything from military communications to civilian infrastructure. Foreign access to these algorithms could have compromised American national security on multiple levels, potentially affecting millions of citizens. Brandon's attempts to plea bargain by revealing the full extent of his criminal network provided federal prosecutors with evidence that led to arrests across 5 countries and the dismantling of an international espionage operation that had been targeting American defense contractors for years. His cooperation, motivated by desperation to reduce his sentence, revealed the existence of similar operations at dozens of other companies. Travis's relief and sincere apology for his unwitting participation in Brandon's scheme reflected genuine remorse and a newfound understanding of how easily ambition can be manipulated by those with criminal intent. His detailed knowledge of company operations and his documented interactions with Brandon provided crucial corroborating evidence that strengthened the prosecution's case. "I thought I was just being a good employee," Travis explained during one of our post-arrest conversations. "I never realized that my reports about colleagues and my eagerness to please management were actually facilitating espionage. It's taught me that integrity matters more than advancement." The complete transformation of Meridian Tech under federal oversight demonstrated how quickly a corrupted organization could be reformed when criminal leadership was removed. New security protocols, ethical training programs, and oversight mechanisms were implemented to ensure that the company could continue its legitimate work while preventing future criminal activities. My recognition by Pentagon officials for maintaining integrity under extreme pressure opened doors to career opportunities I had never imagined possible. Senior officials in the Department of Defense personally thanked me for my role in exposing the espionage network and offered positions that would allow me to continue protecting national security while advancing my career in cybersecurity. The personal growth I experienced through this ordeal extended far beyond professional recognition to include a fundamental shift in my understanding of my own strength and capabilities. The experience of facing systematic attempts to destroy my career and reputation while maintaining ethical principles had proven to me that I possessed resources of courage and resilience I hadn't known existed. New career opportunities emerged from my reputation for ethical behavior and my demonstrated ability to maintain integrity under pressure. Defense contractors across the country sought my expertise in developing security protocols and ethical oversight systems that would prevent the kind of criminal activities Brandon had orchestrated at Meridian Tech. The ripple effects of our investigation extended to other victims of similar schemes who came forward after Brandon's arrest made national news. Federal investigators discovered that the espionage network had been operating at multiple defense contractors, using the same pattern of recruiting and framing military veterans that had been attempted against me. International implications of the case led to enhanced cooperation between American and allied intelligence services, sharing information about espionage networks and implementing stronger security protocols to protect classified technology from foreign theft. The case became a model for how undercover investigations could effectively combat industrial espionage. Brandon's sentencing to life in federal prison without possibility of parole reflected the severity of his crimes against national security. The judge's statement emphasized that his betrayal of trust and his systematic attempts to frame innocent colleagues for his crimes represented some of the most egregious criminal behavior the court had ever encountered. The collapse of Brandon's criminal network led to the arrest and conviction of over 40 individuals across multiple countries, including foreign intelligence agents, corrupt government officials, and employees at various defense contractors who had been recruited to steal classified information. The international scope of the prosecutions demonstrated the global significance of our investigation. Derek's family's gratitude for his newfound integrity and courage was deeply moving to witness. His wife spoke tearfully about how proud she was that her husband had found the strength to do the right thing, despite the risks to their financial security. Their children would grow up knowing their father had helped protect their country's security. The company's transformation into a model for ethical government contracting included new training programs, oversight mechanisms, and whistleblower protections that would prevent future criminal activities. Meridian Tech became a showcase for how defense contractors could maintain the highest levels of security and ethical standards while conducting legitimate business with government agencies. My speaking engagements at military academies and veteran transition programs allowed me to share the lessons learned from this experience with others who might face similar challenges. The story became a powerful example of how maintaining integrity and courage in the face of corruption could lead to both personal growth and protection of national security. 6 months after Brandon's arrest and conviction, I found myself in a position I could never have imagined during those dark days when my career and freedom hung in the balance. My new role as senior security consultant for the Department of Defense provided both the professional recognition I had earned and the opportunity to help prevent future espionage attempts against American defense contractors. The morning I testified before Congress about cybersecurity vulnerabilities in contractor oversight was both terrifying and empowering. Senators and representatives listened intently as I explained how easily foreign agents could exploit weaknesses in security protocols and oversight mechanisms to steal classified technology. My recommendations for enhanced monitoring and ethical training programs were incorporated into legislation that would strengthen protection of national security information across all government contracts. Derek's transformation into Chief Security Officer at the reformed Meridian Tech had been remarkable to witness. His newfound confidence and commitment to ethical leadership had earned respect from colleagues and federal oversight officials. During our regular coffee meetings, he often reflected on how facing his fears and choosing courage over comfort had fundamentally changed not just his career, but his entire approach to life. "I used to think being brave meant not being scared," Derek told me during one of our conversations. "Now I understand that real courage means doing the right thing, even when you're terrified of the consequences. That experience taught me who I want to be as a person and as a father." Amanda's continued friendship and professional collaboration had grown into one of the most meaningful relationships in my life. Her expertise in cybercrime investigation complemented my background in military cybersecurity, and we often worked together on cases involving defense contractor security. Her courage in maintaining an undercover assignment for 18 months while protecting me from criminal prosecution had earned my deepest respect and gratitude. The broader impact of our investigation extended far beyond the individual prosecutions to include new federal legislation protecting contractor employees who report security violations. The Cybersecurity Whistleblower Protection Act, inspired directly by our case, provided legal safeguards and financial protections for employees who expose espionage activities or security breaches in government contracting. Brandon's life sentence in federal prison marked the end of one of the most sophisticated espionage operations ever uncovered within the American defense contracting system. His conviction on charges of treason, espionage, and conspiracy had sent a clear message to foreign intelligence services that attempts to steal classified American technology would be met with the full force of federal law enforcement. The complete dismantling of his international network had eliminated a significant threat to American national security while demonstrating the effectiveness of coordinated international law enforcement cooperation. Intelligence agencies in allied nations had used evidence from our investigation to expose and prosecute similar operations within their own countries. My reflection on how this experience had changed my perspective on courage and integrity formed the foundation for speaking engagements at military academies, veteran organizations, and corporate ethics seminars. The story resonated with audiences because it demonstrated that ordinary people facing extraordinary pressure could make choices that protected both individual integrity and collective security. The personal healing that had occurred over these months extended beyond professional success to include a renewed sense of purpose and confidence in my own judgment. The experience of being systematically targeted for destruction while maintaining ethical principles had proven to me that my core values were stronger than external pressure or personal fear. My new relationship with Sarah Chen, a fellow veteran and cybersecurity specialist I met during a Pentagon briefing, had grown into a partnership built on shared values and mutual respect. Our connection was rooted in common experiences of military service and civilian transition, along with a commitment to protecting national security through ethical leadership and technical excellence. What I admire most about you, Sarah had told me during one of our early dates, is that you chose integrity even when it could have cost you everything. That kind of moral courage is rare, and it's exactly the foundation for building something meaningful together. The tribute ceremony honoring unsung heroes who protect national security had been deeply emotional, recognizing not just my role in exposing Brandon's espionage network, but dozens of other federal employees and contractors who had risked their careers to report security violations and criminal activities. The ceremony emphasized that democracy depends on individuals willing to prioritize collective security over personal comfort. Derek's family had become close friends, and watching his children grow up with pride in their father's courage and integrity provided ongoing inspiration. His wife often spoke about how the experience had strengthened their marriage by revealing the depth of his character and commitment to doing what was right regardless of personal cost. The company's evolution into a model for ethical government contracting had attracted attention from defense contractors across the country seeking guidance on implementing similar reforms. Meridian Tech's new security protocols and ethical training programs had been adopted by dozens of other companies, creating industry-wide improvements in protection of classified information. My mentor role with other whistleblowers and ethical employees had become one of the most rewarding aspects of my new career. Veterans transitioning to civilian contractor work often sought my advice on navigating the complex ethical challenges of defense contracting while maintaining the integrity and commitment to service that had defined their military careers. The ripple effects of our investigation continued to expand, with federal agencies implementing new oversight mechanisms and security protocols based on lessons learned from Brandon's criminal operation. The case had become a textbook example in law enforcement academies and intelligence training programs of how systematic investigation and international cooperation could effectively combat espionage. During quiet moments of reflection, I often thought about the journey from that terrifying day when I faced potential federal charges and career destruction to this position of respect and meaningful work protecting national security. The experience had taught me that true strength comes not from avoiding difficult battles, but from fighting them with integrity and tact. The lesson that had emerged most clearly from this ordeal was that when we choose courage over comfort and principle over safety, we don't just protect ourselves, we protect everyone who comes after us. The legislation inspired by our case, the security improvements implemented across the defense contracting industry, and the message sent to foreign intelligence services about American resolve had created lasting positive change that extended far beyond my individual circumstances. Standing in my new office overlooking the Potomac River, reading reports about successful prevention of espionage attempts at other defense contractors, I understood that my decision to maintain integrity, despite systematic attempts at destruction, had contributed to something much larger than personal vindication. It had helped protect the security and freedom that generations of Americans had sacrificed to preserve. The phone call from my former commanding officer, Colonel Martinez, congratulating me on my recent promotion and my role in strengthening national security brought the story full circle. Her words reminded me that military service doesn't end with discharge papers. It continues whenever we choose to prioritize collective welfare over individual advantage. You've proven that the values we tried to instill during your service weren't just military ideals, she said. They're principles for living a life that makes a difference. Your courage in exposing that espionage network has protected more Americans than you'll ever know. As I prepared for another day of work, protecting the technologies that defend our nation, I carried with me the knowledge that integrity under pressure isn't just a personal virtue, it's a cornerstone of the freedom and security we all depend on. The experience had taught me that ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges can make choices that create extraordinary positive change. I hope this story has resonated with you and perhaps inspired you to consider how you would respond when faced with ethical challenges in your own life. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where doing the right thing seemed impossible due to personal or professional pressure? I would love to hear about your experiences and how you navigated those difficult decisions in the comments below. If this story of courage and integrity in the face of corruption has moved you, please consider liking this video to help others find it. Your support helps these important stories reach people who might be facing similar challenges and need to know they're not alone. I encourage you to subscribe to stay updated on more stories about ordinary people making extraordinary choices to protect what matters most. Finally, please share this story with friends, family, or colleagues who might benefit from hearing about how maintaining integrity under pressure can lead to not just personal vindication, but meaningful, positive change that protects entire communities. Together, we can create a culture where courage and principle are valued over comfort and convenience. Thank you for taking this journey with me, and I wish you the strength to choose integrity in your own moments of testing. Remember that your choices matter more than you know, and sometimes the courage to do what's right can change not just your own life, but the lives of countless others who depend on people willing to stand up for truth and justice.